thin and lean come down from Baxter Springs, and that's one hell-raising town way up in southeast.
Good afternoon, man. Welcome to the Fat Bacon Podcast Show. I am Rockwood. As you can see, we're here again with Shane Wright. But I got to do a little housekeeping here. Just be advised that everything Shane talks about, we're not here to show you, tell you, or give you the components of making the meth and stuff like that. There is some strong language, so if you have children in the house, this might not be good for them because we are talking about adult situations. There's no nudity. I'm not getting naked, and I'm sure Shane's not going to either. But anyway.
Well, I will, I will if I need to.
Yeah, you don't want to see me. So anyway, Shane, thank you for joining me today. As always, we're in part 5 of Operation Renegade, Kansas, man. We're having a good time, man. So yeah. We left off last week. What happened after you got out of jail from the traffic stop?
Yeah, so I talked about them just shoving us out the door basically and leaving us, and it was wintertime, it was like snow on the ground and stuff. We was freezing. They kept my phone, they kept my van, everything, just kicked us out, and we're talking an hour and a half away from where I live. Oof. And back then this was right at the very first of 2000 that happened. It was February, I think. And so I had a cell phone that I carried with me all the time, and cell phones were just coming mainstream to where everybody had them. Well, I had had a cell phone long enough that I didn't remember anybody's phone number anymore. Right. And you really don't think about that until you're in that situation, And so it was hard to even come up with my home phone number, my landline number, because I didn't really remember it because everything's stored in your phone. But we finally got somebody called, and they headed up to pick us up and brought us back. I had to have another friend of mine go, actually, because I didn't want to go pick up my van. I was kind of like, I don't know what they're going to do, and I go pick it up.
Right.
And so my friend was working in Springfield, and he goes, I'll get it for you. And I said, you will? And he said, yeah. So I gave him the keys and everything, and he went and picked it up for me. Might have to have him on the show sometime because something happened up there. I don't remember exactly what it was. I'll have to get with him and find out. But they said something to him or did something. I don't remember what it was, but it kind of freaked him out, Just to cover, we're supposed to have Troy on here today, but
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Troy got sick at the last moment and just couldn't be here,
Camera shy.
So we'll have him on and some other show in the future. Yeah. But anyway, I had a friend of mine get my van, and he brings it home. And they must have, I don't know if they did or not, but I'm guessing that they completely tore that thing apart looking for, probably hidden spots or whatever. Because the van was new, but it seemed different after I got it back. The panels like rattled and things like that.
Right.
I don't know for sure if that's what they did, but it sure seemed like it. So they let us out with no charges or anything. We went directly from the courthouse to a lawyer right there in Springfield and retained him. I paid for, the retainer on me and my buddy that was driving. I paid for his part of it. And the lawyer, he told us, he said, yeah, they screwed up on this. That's why they let you out without any charges. They screwed up, and we briefly discussed, could it be federal charges? And he said, is there a reason you think federal? I said, no, not really. And he said, well, I think they just screwed this up. So I said, okay. So I get back home, and my wife had called a couple of my friends that I, was involved with us, and they ended up going to prison at the same time for all this in the end of it. But they had come over because they held us for either 24 or 48 hours. I think it was only 24 hours, and then let us out. Well, during that time, my wife at the time had these guys come over, and they took all my guns out of there off the property and got all the paraphernalia out of there and any drugs or money that was anticipating them to come and search the house,
Right. Right.
And I remember one of the guys saying that they put all the guns in the back seat of this other guy's truck, and he said there was so many guns that it filled up the back seat and the floorboards all the way up to the window. There was so many of them and stuff, just different things that I had, ammo and guns and whatnot. And
if you're listening to this can't be made up. This is true story, man.
Yeah, it is true. And they had taken pretty much everything there. Well, I didn't do any more cooks. I think I did one more cook that month, because a month later is when they opened up the indictments. But that traffic stop's what gave them the reason to unseal the indictments and make the arrests.
Okay.
So in that meantime, I was just being cautious, but then again, I was a little bit on the side that the lawyer said, well, they screwed up the traffic stop and all that, so I wouldn't worry about it. So I was kind of not worrying about it, but it's also on your mind,
Right, right.
I had a brand new, well, not a brand new, but that is the wrong term to use. I had just done a cook right before I got busted or pulled over. And so when they cleaned out my property, there was a big pan of it finished out in my garage in my office, and that came up missing, and I didn't get it back. And so I didn't have any meth. Everybody was wanting the meth, and my money was starting to get low. I just paid a lot of money to the lawyer.
Right.
And so I thought, well, I better go do a cook and get back on top here. So
right.
I did go do one more cook before they unsealed the indictments. But it wasn't as big of a cook, and it wasn't business as usual. It shook up the whole thing,
Right. So was everybody in your that was working? I was going to say crew, but was everybody that you worked with also being very cautious about who they spoke with or where they went?
Well, yeah, no. I mean, it was just kind of a weird time.
Right.
Didn't really know what to do or how to go about it. And then, a month goes by pretty fast, and I was out. I guess we'll go on to, we can move on to the day of the arrest, I guess.
Yeah. So
we kind of covered that in the first, though, didn't we?
Kind of a little bit, but I didn't know at the time that you were tracking the feds. Were listening in. So did you hear them talk about busting you the following day?
Yeah. So fast forward a month past, the traffic stop. I'm out in my yard on my tractor, doing something. I don't remember. I think I was making a driveway to go back to my garage that I just built. We talked about that. It was a 30 by 40, or I mean, a 40 by 60 shop with a nice office and bathroom and everything, all finished out, and epoxied floors.
Oh, wow.
It was a really nice shop. But I was out there trying to make a driveway for that, and my wife at the time, she comes out. I shut the tractor off. She comes over and she goes, "Hey, I just had the scanner on, and they just said that yeah, they're going in to and I'll call him Beetle. They said, going to Beetles and Wrights in the morning. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah. And then they said that they're having trouble getting it okayed for CS gas, which is,
oh, wow,
is tear gas, is what
right.
it is. Capsaicin, I think, is
Right.
what the CS stands for. Because children might be on the premises, because my kids stayed at my house. And of course, after hearing this, we sent the kids with their mom, and I started putting out the word. I had somebody was there, and I said, "Hey, go tell so and so and so and so and so and so and so. Put the word out that I'm going to get busted in the morning." And I had made a couple calls, called Pedro, and I said, "Hey, man, I need you to come over here." And he said, "Is everything all right?" And I said, "No, I need you here now." And he goes, "I'm on my way," And he comes over, and Whit comes over. That was my buddy, the big guy. They called him, in the case, they called him the enforcer, which I really didn't look at it that way, but I didn't look at it as organized crime either.
Yeah.
Before I got arrested. So he came over, and word got out, and we cleaned up my property, got all paraphernalia off there, all the drugs, all the money, everything gone. And then everybody went home. Well, they didn't say anything else. We didn't hear anything else about anybody else that I was involved with. So we didn't think that it was going to be what it was, Out at the lab site, I had a big, which was separate from my property. It was out in the middle of the country. No neighbors or anything. It was out in the middle of the field at a guy's house. At Beetle's house, we'd built a garage. He had built a garage, and we built a room inside there, with a fume hood, and had it climate controlled and
Right.
humidity controlled, and cameras wired up and monitors. And I had a huge safe there. Well, I wasn't too worried about it, because I knew other people had gotten arrested and busted and had safes, and they never could get into these safes. So I thought, well, they can't get into them. Well, that was just the locals. That wasn't the feds. Trust me, the feds can get into whatever they want to get into. So I wasn't worried about the lab so much, even though I knew that they was going in there, because that was one of the names that was mentioned, his and mine. They didn't even know that was the lab site at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they just happened to get lucky, because he was my best friend, and we was around each other all the time, and so everybody cleaned up. I remember the day, after they caught everybody and had us in holding cells. I remember Whit saying that he was laying on his couch asleep when they come in on him, because he thought he was, he really didn't play a big role in the whole thing. I mean, there was very little that he did. But it looks good on paper to have, enforcer and violence and all this, when, I don't know, it really wasn't like that.
Right.
But I had talked about going to my father-in-law's and, giving him the box of money and telling him that I was going to get arrested. We covered that in one of the first shows. But yeah, so then this is kind of a funny part of it. The next morning, like I said, I was asleep. He knocks on the door and he says, "Hey, there's a helicopter been flying around here for, the last 20 minutes. He said it landed behind your van and then took back off, and now it keeps flying like down by your place and then back to here," because I only lived a couple miles away from him. And I said, "All right." I get up and I take the money out of my billfold and give it to my then wife, and walking out, putting my billfold in my pocket, and they was already in the house.
Damn.
Let's see your hands. Let's see your hands.
What time of morning was it? Early morning, or was it mid morning? Or
it was about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
They had already arrested everybody else. I think they they started at 7 or 8, you know,
Wow.
and they couldn't find me until finally that helicopter
I was
noticed
just
my
about to
van.
ask that. How did they know that you were at your in-laws' house?
Yeah, they just knew they was looking for that van.
Ah,
And like I said, this was an Apache, and the DEA and the KBI, they say different, but I know what I saw. I mean,
right.
I saw it above my head, and I'd never seen a helicopter like that. I didn't know what it was till later on, whenever, I talked with some people and we started looking into it, and I was like, oh, that's what it was right there, because they
Right.
look a lot different. Well, they take me out by the police car and they got me in handcuffs, right? And the helicopter lands in the field out there, and the pilot gets out and walks up and he's talking to the other officer there, and he's like, yeah, I noticed them and I couldn't get through to you on the local frequency, so I figured I'd just be swooping down there to tell you to come down here that I found it, and they're over there talking and everything. And my ex-wife, she's up on the porch in handcuffs, and I'm talking to I holler at her and I say, hey, call the bond lady and have her meet me at the courthouse, because I'm thinking locals still.
Right. Right.
I hadn't figured it all out. And I tell her, I say, tell her to meet me at the courthouse in Columbus. And I looked at the cop and I go, am I going to Galena or Columbus? Because Columbus is the county, Galena is the city, and he looks at me and he goes, you're going to Joplin. And I go, okay, tell it. And I look back at him, I go, Joplin? Because that's Missouri. Why am I going across state lines? And I go, oh, okay, tell her to meet me at Joplin and meet me there so that I can get out before they even book me in.
Right. Right.
And the cop looks at me and he goes, oh, you're going to bond right out when I get there? And I go, if you guys will get me there. And he goes, oh, well, we better get you there then. And he hollers over to the pilot and the other officer and he goes, hey, he's going to bond out as soon as he gets to the station. So I'm going to go ahead and run him on over there so he can go ahead and get out. And I seen them both look at him
So
and go,
nice of him.
yeah, go ahead and do that. And I thought, that was an awful weird conversation, the way they acted. And so they put me in the cop car and he's taking me down there. And of course, all the neighbors are out in their yards. This is in the country, but still they all seen the
And
helicopter.
busybodies.
Yeah. And they was watching and everything. And so they get me over to Joplin. They get me to the police station. And I just have on a pair of shorts is all I've got on. My hair's messed up. They get me out of the cop car and they take me through this door to go in. And as soon as they open the door, over on my right is everybody that I know in a big cage, and they're all like, there he is. We wondering where you was at, why you wasn't here. And then I turn around and I look, and lined up, this is going to sound bad, but lined up is, they've already got my wife at the house still. And they had this girl that I was seeing on the side, my girlfriend. She was in handcuffs. And right next to her was my ex-wife that I had before my other ex, because I've been married 3 times, and her best friend. And then the bond lady was there. And then
Really?
another lady I knew, and my first ex-wife's best friend, and they're all standing up there, and they just got makeup just running down their face where they all been crying, and I'm like, oh no, there's the bond lady. I'm hit. That's when it
Oh
hit
my
me
God. That is
that
freaking hilarious.
I got some trouble now.
Yeah.
And of
Come on
course
down because the bond lady's here.
they got the bond lady, for money laundering and stuff, for accepting cash. And there was they owned a car lot or something, and there was some vehicles bought with cash, and so they got her for money laundering.
That is too funny. That is too funny. So you're sitting there and they start booking you in. I mean, So what continues to happen? I mean, I'm sure you went to see a magistrate, or well,
Well,
you don't even know it's federal yet, do you?
well, I do at that time. I'm learning because the marshals are there booking me in, and they ask about any tattoos that I have. And I said, yeah, I've got one on my shoulder and I'll show you. I don't know if you'll be able to see or not, but I just pulled up my shirt and showed it like that,
Yeah,
right? I don't know if you know what that is or
I
not.
can't. Yeah, it looks like a demon or something.
It's off an album cover.
Oh, is that's not Nirvana, is it?
No, it's Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood.
Okay, now that's Dr. Feelgood. I get it.
Dr. Feelgood, yeah. And so when I did
Oh
that,
my God.
that marshal goes, "What is that? A dagger with a snake?" And I go, "Yeah, that's what I'd say. I don't know, and but the local cop, there was two females, so the federal marshal said that, and then the local cop was standing there, and she was kind of being on her toes because the marshals are there, feds are there, and so the locals said, "Isn't that Motley Crue, or isn't that Dr. Feelgood?" And I go, "Oh yeah, I was a big Motley Crue fan for a long time." And I said, "But I listen pretty much to country now. I don't listen to rock much anymore." And that Marshall started talking to me and she was like, "Yeah, that's kind of the way I am too, since I've gotten older, and I looked over and that local cop was just glaring at me like, "Boy, you pulled a slick one there, because that's the last thing I wanted
I
him
can't believe they didn't put two and two together.
that's the last thing I wanted him to put together
That
was
is too
he thinks
funny.
he's Dr. Feelgood,
Yeah.
So yeah, so then they booked me in and they put me in a cell. Uh, they don't give me a mattress, they don't give me a pillow. I'm in a
Wow.
two-man cell by myself. It's cold as can be. The air conditioner's running. I ask them for a blanket, they won't give me a blanket. They had me separated from everybody,
Right.
and I was in there all day. Lunch come around and I hear the inmates feeding the other guys. I was in seg is where I was at, segregation, and they was feeding the other guys and I hollered out there, "Hey man, I didn't get a tray." And the inmate goes, "All right, just a minute." He goes, "Hey boss, this guy says he didn't get a tray. You want me to give him one of these extra ones?" And he goes, "Nope, he don't get food," and
Wow.
closed the bean hole again. Or,
Right.
well, I guess he didn't have the bean hole open, but they left. And then dinner came, same thing.
Really?
And I was wanting a pillow or a blanket. They wouldn't give them to me, wouldn't give them to me. So finally, about, I'd say 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, they came and opened the door, And I'm curled up in a ball trying to stay warm on that metal bunk. And they get me out of there and they take me into this office. Well, the federal prosecutor's sitting there,
Wow.
and he says, "Where is this item, that stolen item I was talking about?"
Mhm.
And I go, "I don't know." And he goes, "You don't know?" And I go, "I don't know where it's at." And he goes, "Well, who knows where it's at?" And I go, "I think I need a lawyer." And he took his pen and threw it against the wall and threw everything off his desk, the papers and everything. And he goes, "Take him to Topeka. Take them all to Topeka," he said. And I'm like, "Topeka? Why the heck am I going to Topeka now,
You're going from Missouri to Kansas.
Oh, yeah. And so they give us and they start booking us all out, and they book us all out, and they got some vans sitting out there, and they put us all in there, and Pedro's in there with me, and Witt's in there with me. He's sitting right next to me, and Witt's cousin is in there with us, and he's the local little league coach and pee wee football coach, and big in the community. Nobody even knew and he gets arrested with us, and he's in there, and he's not dealing with it very well at all, because he's
Never been probably in trouble.
as sick as can be, and just freaking out. And we're sitting there, and we sit there, and we sit there, and there's one more spot behind me. Well, here they come bringing Beetle out there, right? And they set him next, or in that seat, and his eyes are all swollen and puffy and everything. And I turn around and I go, you didn't tell him anything, did you, Beetle? And he goes, he just said no and shook his head. And about that time, the side door opened on the van again, and the cop has a Coke from McDonald's and a sack from McDonald's, and they say, here you go, Beetle, here's your Big Mac or whatever it was, and handed him the food and the drink, and then shut the door. And it was just quiet, and Whit looks at me and he goes, nah, he didn't say a word. I'm like, oh no, he's not, I hadn't even eaten all day. I don't know if anybody else had, but they certainly didn't go get us McDonald's,
Oh man.
So then they're taking us, and you got to remember, we're a crew,
right?
We've known each other since kids, all of us, and we're just giving those marshals a time all the way up there, telling them, hey, you was that guy that I did meth with at one party and all this, and the other cop's like, you guys are full, and we're like, no, really, he does drugs, and we mess with him.
He tested him.
Yeah, we're cutting up and having a good old time, joking around, because we think we're not in that much trouble, and they get us up there to Topeka. It's that's quite a drive. It's getting ready to be morning before long.
So they're transporting you overnight.
Yeah,
they take you immediately right then and take you. Wow.
Yeah, and they had a convoy. I mean, it wasn't just the van. There was a couple of vans and a couple of marshal cars, and they had the women in. I think they was in the marshal's cars, and then some of the guys were in another van.
Wow.
Because they arrested on that day, they arrested 27 of us.
Wow.
In, I think, 6 different states.
Holy.
So they had it coordinated where they came in all at the same time on us, so nobody could tell anybody anything, So we get up there to Topeka, and we're talking Topeka County Jail. They hold federal inmates there too, and I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know how it all worked. And we pull up there, and it's a 5-story jail.
Oh wow!
And you can see all the skinny windows up there and everything. And when you pull in, you go underground. You go down into the basement, a ramp that goes down, and there's a garage door, and you have to buzz in and everything. So they pull up there, and they're buzzing in. The marshals are, and Whit's cousin's back there, and he's back there going, oh, I don't feel very good. I don't feel very good, and
it's funny now, I'm sure.
Yeah, so Whit was telling him, oh, it ain't nothing. We're just talking about 20 years or so, probably 15 for you, and just giving him a time.
Oh man.
And he goes, and his cousin saying, stop it, Whit, stop it. And Whit goes, ooh, look at the windows. They got their lights on up there. Ooh, they're looking out. They're saying, ooh, fresh meat. And about that time, his cousin grabs that McDonald's sack, because it was right by his feet or whatever. He grabs it and just starts puking into that sack. And even the marshals started laughing, it was because Whit, he wasn't backing off of his cousin any at all. He was giving him time.
Bloody shit right there.
Yeah.
So everybody's razzing everybody, even the officers.
Oh yeah, we're a pretty funny bunch of guys, really. When you get us around. Yeah, yeah. And so they're taking us in there, and they got to pat you down again and everything, as you're going in there. Well, as they're patting me down, they're telling me, "Man, you are in some big trouble." And I go, "You think?" And they said, "Oh yeah, they're saying they're going to give you 50 years." At the time, that's what they was saying, and they go, "You would have been better off murdering somebody." And I said, "Really?" And they go, "Oh yeah, murder? Yeah, you get an average of about 7 years if it's, you've never been in trouble." And they go, they'll probably give you 50 years.
Damn.
And I was just like, wow. Well, little did I know, he was right, because there was somebody that I knew that had murdered their dad, and locally around here, and hid the body and all this, and went on the run, and they had caught him right before I got arrested, and they was out within 7 years.
Oh wow.
They was out before I was.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is insane, and people don't realize. I say this all the time. You don't realize what the laws actually are until you're wrapped up in them. Until you're wrapped up in a situation like this, and they got their claws on you, and court don't go. It doesn't go, and the legal system doesn't move the way that you would think it would. Like I said, for example, your wife can't testify against you. Well, that's not completely true,
Right. Right.
And things like that. The traffic stop, it obviously was a setup deal, a planned deal. It went against my rights on search and seizure, because I told them I didn't, consent. Right. They did it anyway. But still, I couldn't get it thrown out.
That's crazy.
The legal system just doesn't work the way you think.
I read most of that court stuff for that stop, and I'm like, this is so stupid. Why they surely they can't win this? I mean,
yeah, and it doesn't even make sense the way that the prosecution had it written up. Why would I be sitting there telling them that they can't search, and then all of a sudden tell them, "Oh, I got a gun"?
Right.
It doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't.
Nobody would do that.
And as a former police officer myself, I don't understand it. I mean, there was stuff that we would do, and it was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It was so stupid. Some of the stuff, and even to this day, I watched, used to watch the old episodes of Cops, and I used to come off and said, sometimes you just got to root for the bad guy.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, that I should have got out of this with nothing. And then
right.
I took responsibility all the way from the beginning. I was like, I did what they said,
Right.
I should be, because the other guys, when they finally put me in population there in Topeka, all the guys in there would be like, I shouldn't be in here. This is bull, and all that. And I go, well, I don't know about you guys, but I did everything they said I did, pretty much.
I'm guilty.
Yeah. I said, I deserve to be in here. Now, I don't deserve what they're wanting to give me, or even what they gave me, I don't think. I think 5 years would have been.
Because that was your first time to be in trouble, right? Was that your first time? Was that your first time to be in trouble?
Well, the first time felony. Yeah, I had a couple misdemeanors for fighting and stuff when I was younger, but yeah, the first real trouble that I'd been in.
So technically, you hadn't been in really anything that was
right.
So
I had never done jail time other than being arrested and have to sit there until I bonded out.
Right, right.
It was all probation or deferred or whatever. Where was I at there? I got sidetracked.
Talking about the punishment, the inside the jail, people talking to you.
Right, me saying, I did what they're saying, and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to be in here for a little bit and then get out. Everybody else. So the next morning, let's just go there. The next morning, well, once they got us booked in, they put us in segregation because we're high profile,
Absolutely.
it was on the news, it was on CNN and all this. And we go in there and try to lay down, sleep for a couple hours, and they get us up the first thing in the morning to take us all to court. Well, they take us all to court. So we're all in a holding cell over at the federal building. Well, we're headed over there in the van, and Whit, again, is right next to me, sitting there next to me. I think it was because he and I was the couple of the bigger guys, taller guys, and so when they'd put us in the van, he and I would be the last two loaded, so we'd be right in front of the door. You know, he's a big guy. He was really a big guy. He's passed away now, but he's a big guy. And so we're driving over there, and he's saying, "Who's getting out? You know, who's getting? Are we all getting bond?" And the marshal's going, "No, not all of you." And he's like, "Well, who is and who isn't?" And the marshals go, "We can't tell you that." And he goes, "But you know, don't you?" And the marshal goes, "Yeah, we know." And he goes, "Well, come on, give us some sort of an idea." And the marshal turns around and he goes, "Well, all I can tell you is this. It has to do with little fish." And he looked at him and then he goes, "And big fish." And he looked at me and I was like, oh, my heart sank, you know. And Whit goes, "Oh, yeah, thank God." He goes, oh, sorry, man. I got things I got to do." I'm like, "Yeah, and I don't, you know."
Yeah. Oh my God.
So they take us over to the federal building and they put us in a holding cell. And first thing when we go in the holding cell is Whit hollers at him, "Hey, can we get a couple rolls of toilet paper?" And the guy goes, the marshal goes, "There's none in there. I just made sure there was some in there this morning." And he goes, "Nope, none in here." And he goes, "All right." So he gets some and he throws them to Whit. And as soon as he walks off, he takes that roll of toilet paper and he's laying up. Some of us are on the benches, some of us are on the concrete. He takes that roll of toilet paper, puts it right behind his neck. And he goes, "That's how you jail, guys." And I thought, oh man, I didn't know that Whit had been in jail more than once. So yeah, and they took everybody out there one at a time that day.
That's what
One
amazes
at a
me. The
time, and then they
marshals.
didn't come back. You know, they'd go to their bond hearing and not come back. And I knew the whole day I wasn't going anywhere. And so I've got a splitting headache, you know. They get all the way down. The last one was Whit's cousin. And he's freaking out by this
Still freaking out.
Oh, he's like completely just losing his mind in there. And he's probably going to hate me for telling this story, but he gets up on the bars, because the doors are bars, you know, and he has his feet and his hands up there and he's shaking that door like this. He's going, "Let me out of here." And I'm laying there going, "Just shut up." You know, my head's killing me and all this. And they finally come and get him and take him, and he doesn't come back, you know.
Oh, that's freaking
Then they
hilarious.
take me and they deny my bond and take me back, and they kept me segregated for over a month
Really?
from General Pop. Yeah, because I was, you know, high profile case. They kept telling me.
The big cartel leader that you were.
Yeah, and so finally, my lawyer, I think, gets them talked into putting me into General Pop. Well, when they finally put me into General Pop, I go into the unit, and there's these four white guys over there, and they look pretty rough, and they're playing cards over at a table. They're playing pinochle, you know, and soon as I walk in and the CO tells me what bunk is mine, I start to walk towards the cell, and those four guys holler at me, tell me, "Hey, come here a minute." And I walk over there and they go, "What are you in here for?" And I said, "Meth manufacturing." And they go, "I knew it, I got it." You know, they was all betting on what I was in there for. And we get to talking a little bit, and I tell them, and they go, "Oh man, you was that you was that big case down in southeast Kansas yesterday. And I was like, yeah. And they said, we is all over the news and it's in the papers and all this. And they said, we knew you guys was coming before you ever got here. Even the inmates knew we was coming. You know, I mean, it was a huge ordeal. And yeah, so then I was kind of, even then I was almost a celebrity in there, you know, because it had been such a huge deal and all these officers and all this, and it was on the news and the networks. And
so being in federal custody, did any media try to contact you and get your story or anything? I mean, because you watch news and you see these reporters at the jails talk, in the holding cells talking to the guys and stuff like that. I mean,
well, nobody that I know of, nobody ever tried to contact us. Now I had a good lawyer. I mean, he was the best. He really was. He did me good. And I'll tell you, it's kind of funny how I ended up with my lawyer. You know, what I was going to say was my lawyer probably headed him off before. But the way that I got so lucky on my lawyer, because there was so many of us and they knew who was going to get out on bond and who wasn't. So they was appointing lawyers as they took them in there to the courtroom, right? With the court appointed lawyers. Well, they knew I wasn't getting a bond, so they wasn't worried about me. They was just trying to get everybody out.
Right.
Well, when it came down to it, they had ran out of court appointed lawyers.
Oh, wow.
So all lawyers, my understanding, have to do, I don't know what the term for it is. I'm not sure. Pro bono, I don't think is what it is. I think that you get paid later.
Pro bono is pretty much free.
Yeah, they have to do one case a month, I guess, as appointed lawyer, no matter who they are.
They still get paid, but they get paid by the state.
And they get paid their regular fees.
Right.
So they had to draw one out of the pot for me. Well, it just so happened that the best lawyer in Topeka got pulled and it was his turn to do his, and I got him, and he was good. He was good.
That's awesome.
I owe him a lot, and I've contacted him since I've been home, and him and his son, and talked to him and told him I'm doing good and all this. And I've kept in touch with the legal assistant that he had at the time. She no longer works for him, but her and I become really good friends because she spent so much time with me, interviewing me, talking to me about different things, that happened, and getting stories straight and all, asking me questions about, because they had, I think, 700 hours of audio from phone recordings and stuff through this case. And
so were the feds tapping your home phone?
So they had my cell phone, my home phone, and then they had another 2 businesses tapped, plus their cell phones, plus their home phones. Wow. So there was a lot, it wasn't just my phone that was tapped. So there was a lot of hours, and a lot of it should have been minimized,
right.
So if you think about it, in Goodfellas, I think it is, at one point in there, they're talking, and they're on the phone talking, and then they're counting how long they've been talking, and at a certain point, they hand the phones back to their wives, and their wives just start talking about shopping and stuff.
Right.
And it shows the guys that are running the phone taps shutting off the recording. Well, what it is when they have your phone tapped, and again, this is things that you don't know about the legal system, or most people don't know. When they're listening to a phone call, say a phone call comes online, if it doesn't have to do with criminal activity, they have to stop recording after, I don't know how long, say 60 seconds.
Right.
If it doesn't have anything to do with illegal activity, they have to stop recording for a certain amount of time and not listen, and then come back on to see if the conversation has took a turn towards criminal activity.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I never thought about that. That's
Yeah, they don't,
to know.
they can't just record you, you know,
Right.
if it's just a normal conversation. They're not supposed to.
And that was my
But-
next thing. I was thinking, imagine all the conversations they heard.
Oh, yeah.
But now that explains it. They were just looking for the criminal activity that was,
Right. And so I never talked on the phone. I just, we just didn't do it. You know, from a young age, when you brought up in that type of life, that's just something you don't do.
right.
And so if somebody was to call me because they needed to re-up, let's say, get more product, they would call me and they'd say, "Hey man, what's going on?" And I'd say, "Same old thing. Are you headed out?" And they'd say, "Yeah, I'll be over there in a minute." Okay, that meant it's all good. I got stuff, come
Right,
on up.
right.
And if I didn't, or maybe I had something family going on or whatever, if somebody called, they said, "Hey, what's going on, man?" I'd say, "Same old thing, just being lazy today, watching some movies and gonna take some naps, I think, and just kind of hang out." And they'd be like, "All right, well, I'll let you go then. I'll get a hold of you in a couple of days." Well, that meant I didn't have anything,
Right.
no reason to come over. And that was the code that we used. That's just the code we used. We didn't even discuss it,
Right.
It was kind of obvious. Well, on the audio tapes, they had conversation after conversation that they broke down in transcripts. Like, for instance, I work on about everything. I've been a mechanic. I worked at a speed shop building race engines.
Right.
My hobbies working on electronics. Computers were coming on pretty hot and heavy then. The internet was just getting started. I would fix people's computers and all of that. So I was constantly working on things for people. So I have a friend that worked at the speed shop I worked at, and I had another friend that had a Holly carburetor that needed rebuilt. So he gave me the Holly carburetor, and I took it to my buddy at the speed shop and gave it to him. Well, it had been a while, so the guy that owned the carburetor had called and said, "Hey man, did you get that carburetor done yet? Because I'm getting my engine done. I'm getting ready to put it in." And I said, "No, let me call him and see what's going on with it. I'll get it to you though." Well, that was legitimately a conversation about getting a carburetor worked on.
Right.
But when I seen the transcripts and the evidence against me, the transcripts read out and it said, "Hey man, did you get that carburetor done?" And then in parentheses, it said, "Carburetor is code word for methamphetamine." The caller is wanting to know if the methamphetamine has been manufactured, packaged, and ready for distribution yet.
That is
And when
funny.
I said, "No, I'll have to check on it. Let me give him a call and I'll get back with you." This means the methamphetamine has not been produced and packaged and ready for distribution. And he's going to call and talk to somebody else to try to set it up and make sure to get it done, and
So
it
it
was
sounds like a whole different.
yeah. And so maybe that is how people talk in the business, but I've never heard nobody really. I've heard people say, "Hey man, did you get that carburetor or whatever?" But that's all like usually low level people involved that don't know any better or whatever. I've never talked like that on the phone. There was another time where a guy was calling me about his computer, and I legitimately was working on his computer, but it said,
Computer.
is it ready for distribution and all of this? So that's why they had so many hours
Oh,
of audio.
wow. Because they were reading into stuff that wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Reading into stuff that wasn't there. Not really making it up, but they assumed that the carburetor was the meth.
Right.
You know?
And in reality, it really wasn't.
It was a carburetor.
It was a carburetor, yeah.
That is
So
nuts. So you're sitting in jail. Did you ever get the bond out, or did you go straight from the jail to the court?
I never did get bond. I tried to get bond twice. They never would give me bond. There was, I had briefly mentioned earlier about I knew a guy that had murdered somebody.
Right.
Well, the reason I knew him is because his girlfriend, or his wife now, knew me, and I dealt with her. And actually, it was her little brother that was the one that set this all up, was the informant for the DEA. So you've got this woman and her little brother. I say little brother. He's in his mid to late 20s. Well, her boyfriend at the time was coming over to my house with her and everything, and I got to know him. Well, that's the one that shot his dad.
Okay.
Okay. And that happened right before I got arrested. Well, then I got arrested, and they made such a big deal about it on the news and the media and everything, that this guy, when he's going to court, and I didn't know this till I went to my bond hearing, when he's going to court and having his trial, his defense was that he had been involved with the Wright organization, and once you're involved with Wright, there's no getting out alive. You're part of it forever, is what his defense was, that he had been a part of this. He wanted out. He told me he wanted out, and I told him, you don't get out. And he said, well, I'm done. I'm out. And he left, is what he told him. And excuse me. And so he says he goes home, and he knows that I'm going to send my guys to kill him. He knows, it's just what happens. And so he laid in his bed for 2 days without sleeping, and a pistol under his pillow, waiting for my guys to come get him. Well, he lived with his dad, right? And on the second day, he had been up, no sleep for who knows how long. His door opens up. So he grabs his pistol and he shoots, and he shot his dad in the face, thinking that it was my guys to come and get him. Now, this is all BS. He's made all this up,
right,
because none of it's true, other than he did shoot his dad.
Right.
But he used me as an excuse for the reason why he shot his dad.
Because he was scared.
Right, because he was scared my guys were going to come and get him, which was completely false. I was fine with him. Yeah, I was fine with him not coming over to my house anymore. I didn't know him that long. I wasn't really, and he was the type that he was telling me how he was making his own napalm in his garage, and loaded his own bullets, and he was just
so he was a nutcase, pretty much.
Yeah, almost a fanatic with explosives and guns and everything. And so apparently he had an argument with his dad over money or something, and he shot him in the face, and then he had rolled him up in a blanket and hid him in the basement, and then ran the car off into the water, and him and his girlfriend went to Vegas and was hiding out,
because they were running from you.
Yeah, because they was quote unquote running from the Wright cartel or the Wright organization, or however they had it put. this was brought up at my bond hearing.
Wow.
And so, yeah, they would not let me out. That and the fact that they said there was $700,000 that they couldn't account for that I had produced over this, certain amount of time. And it was their feeling that if I were to get out on bond, I would obtain that 700,000 and I would disappear. But they couldn't prove it because they didn't know where the money was.
Right.
My thing was, I don't have any money. I don't have anybody that can give me money, and so then they countered with that, saying that if I didn't have money, that people were more likely to take off on bond if you don't have money and don't have any ties.
Right. Right.
So I was like, let me get this straight. You don't want to let me out because I'm broke and because I'm rich, you think.
Right.
They covered both sides. Either way, they wasn't going to let me out. So yeah, that's it. That they denied my bond twice for that.
Wow.
And I don't know where we're at on time. Do we have a little bit more time here?
I mean, we're right about an hour, so.
Okay, I'll just tell real quick. My mom had cancer. I found out she had cancer right before I got arrested, and she was in the hospital for it and everything. Well, about a year into my case, she passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
So my lawyer talked to the prosecutor and said, hey, this kid, I'm 29 at the time. I guess at this time I would have turned 30. I had my 30th birthday in jail. And he said, hey, this kid needs to go see his mom's funeral and everything. And they said, well, we can't arrange that. You'll have to hire some off-duty officers to accompany him to go and all that, but we won't fight it, is what the prosecutor said. My lawyer has my family hire a couple off-duty federal agents to do it, have it all set up, ready to go. The day of the funeral, I get called out and I go in and it's my lawyer, and he says they changed their mind.
Oh,
they're not going to let you go. And they said the prosecutor went in there and denied it, said it was too dangerous of a mission for them to take me down there.
Wow.
To do that.
So they just keep kicking you in the nuts.
That was pretty bad. That was a tough one right there,
I bet. I just lost my mom in August. And I
remember that. And yeah, it was pretty tough.
Wow.
It was pretty tough. My mom spent the last year of her life trying to get things from a lawyer and trying to find things and do things and get support for me from people, to back me, send letters and all that. That's how she spent her last year alive.
Oh, that sucks.
And I hate that.
Yeah, I hate that for you, man. That just sucks. But, we're going to call it an evening. Shane, I appreciate it. We're going to go. We got a lot of stuff still to go through. And
there's a lot. Yeah.
And it's it's funny and it's sad and it's crazy. And I can see why. And I always say this, you are the real Walter White. And I can see why the government picked up on your case. I mean, why Hollywood would pick up on your case. I mean, I can't tell you for sure, but it's almost a bet that they had to hear your case. Someone had to hear this and say, we can make a movie.
Yeah.
Because there's so many similarities to your life and the fake Walter White.
We've touched on it in the past that I had another project going and I did. It was a documentary about me, about all of this. And of course, we're still, it may come out, it may not. We're kind of in negotiations, contract, and some disagreements, but yeah, there's enough to do a documentary, it could be a mini series documentary, really.
That's what I'm saying too. This is really crazy. And again, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us. I mean,
I'm glad. Thank you for the platform to get it out there.
You know, and very informative. There's a whole lot of knowledge that people don't understand about the laws.
Exactly. You're right.
As a former like I said, former police officer, there's stuff I'm learning from you that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then there's
if we sit back and take a look at the law situation we have going, there was the war on drugs for so long, which I'm not here to say drugs are good or bad or
right.
I mean, of course they're bad, but I'm not trying to say that they're all good and what I did was all good, but I do know this. When you arrest somebody for child molestation and you have proof and you give them 2 years in jail, but then you catch somebody, for drugs and you try to put them in there for natural life, there's some
priorities are reversed. The law priorities are, and I can say this, they're fucked up.
Yeah.
They're fucked up.
I cannot do drugs. I can quit doing drugs.
Right.
A person that does drugs could stop doing drugs.
Right.
Some of the harder stuff, heroin and that type of thing. Yeah, you have withdrawals and medical reasons, but if you find a child attractive, there's no change in that. That's in your head, you know.
And I hate to just a little thing about my personal life. My granddaughter was molested by her biological father, and he is still walking this earth free.
Yeah.
And
sorry to hear that.
Find out that he molested his first daughter from another girl. And I'm not to shy away, but I was halfway to his house. He was about an hour and a half from where I'm at. I was literally going to kill him, and I'm not.
I believe that.
I'm not gonna. I can admit that, and I'm very proud of that. But what helped me was another law enforcement officer called me and said, "Please don't do. You can't help her if you're in jail." Yeah. It really pisses me off that this guy's still walking around. And I get what you're saying. The priorities are not there. I'm not saying what you did was good or bad, but you didn't kill him.
I don't think it was that bad.
Absolutely.
When compared to child crimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a real big advocate for the children.
Where's the war on child molestation?
Exactly.
That's what we need to be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. But well, we're going to call it a night again. Again, thank you, Shane. I know you have to be somewhere this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh man, I enjoy my.
I do too.
I enjoy my Sundays, man. It's like I got to talk to Shane. Shane, yeah. But anyway, thank you, and also I'll remind everybody that's listening in or watching, if you want to be on here and tell some stories, call Shane, email him, text him, whatever you need to do. Again, I don't know who is part of the group or not.
There's people that's reaching out to me.
Okay.
So we'll get them lined up and get them on here.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't want them reaching out because, again, I don't know if they're legit or if they're just wanting to,
Right.
So I want them to go through you. So please, I'd love to have you on. I know Shane would. I mean, I've got enough platform I could put 4 or 5 people at one time. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
But Shane, you go have your good Sunday afternoon. I will get this ready and we'll post it on Tuesday morning.
All right.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Everybody have a good night. Thank you for listening to the Fat Bacon podcast. Thank you, guys.